everyone, it's Georgia down in Australia, and I am here to bring you another project from my January 2022 virtual faith art retreat, More Than Words. Now it's kind of a work in progress in my head as well as here on my craft table, because I have a bit of an idea of what I'm doing, but I'm not quite sure where it's going, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm really going to use it for. I know what I want to use it for, but things might change. Okay, so for now I'm calling it a prayer box. Now the idea behind this is I want to make a little box out of recycled packaging, as I do, but I want to make a little box into which I can put cards and other, I'm not quite sure yet, insert something with prayers and quotes and special things that I find in my travels that I think, oh, I should jot that down somewhere. Now there is another line of thinking behind this that we will discuss during the actual retreat. So if you are coming to the retreat, there will be a discussion that I start based around this thing that we're doing. So it has a twofold purpose. It has this special purpose that I am pointing out in the retreat, and then it can be just a general box that you keep around and fill with special things. Now it doesn't have to be prayers and quotes like I am doing. You could put all sorts of things in it, and because of that, you need to make it whatever size is handy to you. Now this is where you get to see the kind of rubbish that I eat. So I pulled out this box. It's not ideal. It's not really what I wanted. I wanted something a little bit wider and kind of this, maybe 4 inches tall, but I could not find the right size box because as usual I have not planned in advance, so I'm sort of going through my pantry and through the whole house. If I thought about this earlier, I might have kept some of the many boxes of chocolates and treats that came through this house at Christmas time, but it's okay, I will make it work. So this box is 3.5 inches across, and what I've done is I have cut a piece of card which I cut to just over 3 inches across, and once I had that width I visualized how tall I actually wanted the cards to be, and so I've ended up with this little card, and this is not what I'm putting in the box, this is just my prototype. So I've ended up with this little piece of card which is almost 3.25, just over 3 inches across, so it's smaller than my box and I can fit a few of them in there. And it's ended up being almost 4.5 inches tall, and I thought, well, this is my perfect size to go into my box, and now that gives me an idea of how tall I want the box to be. Now I want these to be in the box in such a way that the top of them is sticking out. So I'm going to cut this box down to size, and I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter than the actual card. So if I measure from the bottom, I think I'll cut it at 4 inches. Then there's this tiny little bit sticking out, I think. So if I make a mark, this is the part that's going to get really messy because it's not a very sturdy box. So we'll see how we go. I'm going to make a mark at actually just a little under 4 inches. 4 inches minus 1/8 of an inch. I know we don't do inches in Australia, we do centimeters, so I'm allowed to sound silly, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, now I think the easiest way to do this will be with scissors. I'm just going to cut down to that line. Again, you could use a blade for this, but because this is quite soft card, I think if I did this with my blade, I'll end up making a bigger mess than I am with scissors. So scissors are working quite well for me. Right, so here we have my box that I can put all my cards into. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the box with pattern paper, but the pieces of paper that I use to cover the box, I'm going to cut slightly smaller than each surface, and I'm going to paint around the edges of each side of the box so that once I stick my paper down, it will be, here we go, I'll pull out the other box. This is the box that we actually made a few retreats back with cards and things. I still have it sitting here. So this is the look I'm going for. I'm going to cover it with pieces of pattern paper, but I am going to have an edge around that will be painted. Now, to give it a bit of strength, and also to keep the paint smooth and for the paint to grip onto this shiny card a little bit better than if I painted directly onto the card, I am going to cover all the corner areas and along the top with, I would use masking tape, but I don't have any. So I am going to use some washi tape. So I'm starting at the top, basically just covering the top area there. So it's half on the box and half hanging over the top, so I can fold it over. And now I have a nice smooth edge along the top of my box. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And once I've done those, I'm now going to do the bottom part. So once again, half of the width of your tape is on the bottom and the other half folding over onto the side. Oops, wow. Like this. Go around all four sides. Okay, and I'm now going to do all the long edges. Okay, and that has the added bonus of making my box just a little bit sturdier because it's a bit of a flimsy box that I've chosen. Now the next thing I'm going to do is grab some black paint. You can really use whatever color you like. I'm using my Dina Wakley paint because it's nice and thick. I'm not painting the entire surface because I know that I'm going to be covering it with paper, but I'm just painting around all the edges. Now I'm only going to paint, I'm only going to do the edges on the inside. I might end up doing the same thing on the inside and covering it with paper. I'm not sure yet. I don't know what I'm doing yet, so just to be safe, I'm just going to paint those edges. Now that the paint is dry, I'm going to cover the four sides. I have pulled out my Simple Stories Faith paper pad, as well as a few bits and pieces from some old Echo Park collections. So that's going to go on the side. That's going to be the side panels. So I've got two the same here. And then I've cut these two out. This is an Echo Park one, and this is from this Simple Stories pad. And they are going to be on the front and back. But what I want to do first is I just want to ink around the edges. So I have pulled out my Distress ink in Salvaged Patina. So I'm just inking around the edge of them. And of course you don't have to ink around the edges. You could just leave it as it is. You could draw borders around it with a marker if you wanted to. You could use washi tape to make a pretty border around them. You could actually use washi tape to cover the entire surface of your box. You don't have to use pattern paper. Okay, put that away. And now I'm just going to glue them on. Okay, so this seems to be the disaster retreat in terms of projects. I had another bit of an issue. I did not realize as I was filming the next part of this box that my iPad storage had actually run out, and when I went to stop the video it had already stopped like 3 seconds in with this big notice saying, oh, you've run out of space. So unfortunately I don't have this part on film, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I cut some pieces of pattern paper from the same paper pad as this Simple Stories collection here, and made them again just a little bit smaller than the sides inside and the bottom, stuck them in. So what I'm going to do now is I just want to seal it just to protect the surface as well as to give it a little bit more strength. And I'm going to use my Distress collage medium. You could use something else. I almost use Mod Podge, but I don't know, I don't want that sort of almost plasticky feel that Mod Podge tends to give. The collage medium is more of a natural kind of finish. You don't really see it or feel it there. So I thought I would just use that. And there we go. Right. So I just need to let that dry now. Okay, now I'm going to still trying to work out which one I like here. I just want to put a little bit of lace along the inside top of my box, a little bit like the other box that I showed you, just to pretty it up a little bit. And I'm not sure if I want to use the cream one or the blue. I think I'll use the cream actually. So all I'm going to do is just put a very thin line of glue along the inside edge, one side at a time. Oops. And just stick my lace ribbon down so that it is half in and half out of the box. It's just sort of peeking out the top like that. I don't have any fabric glue, but experience has told me that this particular Scotch glue that I have will work just fine. Now, as you can probably see, I had a little accident and cut it too short, so I've got this little space here that is going to bother me. I might end up sticking something there because at some point it's going to drive me crazy. Now, I did play with the idea of decorating the outside with some flowers or something, but then I stopped. I decided, no, I actually want this to be a very simple, flat-edged box because I'm going to keep it very likely on one of my bedside tables that is a little bit of a bookshelf and has other things there. So it's going to end up some of the time, I think, being almost shelved between things. So I don't want it to have stuff on the outside. I want it to be a box that can be out in the open or put onto a shelf or on my desk with things on either side without having to worry about not squashing and ruining the things that are stuck on it. However, you can go right ahead and decorate it as I did with this previous box where I stuck some paper flowers, a little fun stick design. This box I kept clear on the back. It is yet to go to the recipient that I made it for. This is I guess with all the COVID lockdowns that we've had, I have not had a chance to see the person I made this for. So it's been sitting here for over a year. I think I'm actually going to see her in a couple of weeks. So but you can do this sort of a thing. You can decorate it with flowers and embellishments, whatever you like, or you can keep it completely flat and simple like mine. Now I will very likely have a bonus project this retreat where I will make a few things that will go inside it. Now you can put all sorts of things into it. I am planning on having some prayer cards that I will make myself, some little sort of, not quite sure exactly, it's still forming in my mind, but some sort of little very small booklets that will be the size of that template I had at the start. Don't know what I've done with it, it's gone, but that size, that is as big as my box but a little bit taller, maybe opens up and has half a dozen pages onto which I will write quotes. I have different things in my head, so watch this space, because once I actually decide what I'm doing, I will try and get some bonus videos out of things to make to put in your box. For starters, I'm being very careful because the glue is still drying, so I don't want to be too rough with it and have it come off. But for starters, for those of you who came to my retreat last year at Easter time, one of the things we made, I know this is one of my least popular projects. I think one person made one. Sometimes I make things that are so unpopular. We made, no, I think it was more than one person who made them. A couple of people made them, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I do things that are very unpopular sometimes. I made this flip tag album, and the one I made was the Stations of the Cross. And so it has, you know, little pockets. On the back of each one is a scripture for that particular station, and inside each one is a little pull-out with something written on it. Now and it has been sitting on my desk and on my bedside table and on my other table. It just keeps moving around and getting a little bit trashed because it doesn't have anywhere to live. So I'm thinking this might be the perfect home along with other things. See, there you go. And I did not even plan the size. So there, you know, at the start of this video I complained and I said this is not the size that I wanted. Well, guess what? It's actually the perfect size for my little flip album tag thing. I can't remember what I called it, but you all know. So there you go. And that's taken up, you know, half of the space, and I still have heaps of space for the other things I want to do. So it probably is actually quite totally perfect. All right, so that's it. My little, I'm calling it a pre-box, yet to be filled with other things during this retreat. If you are taking part in the January 2022 retreat, I will create a special album within the retreat group where you can post your boxes once you have made it. And I will put all my social links down below in the description for the retreat, and also for my regular Facebook group, God's Refrigerator. Please feel free to come over and join us, knock on the door, answer the secret question. I can't stress that enough. If you don't answer the question, we cannot let you in. And come on over. Okay, once again, I'm done. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.